Hey y'all, Joe here. And today I'm going to talk about something that I don't get it. Yeah, earlier I talked about a specific part of the First Amendment, peaceably assembling, uh, protesting. This time I want to go a little bit deeper into a different um, amendment, the Second Amendment um, of our Bill of Rights. I know this is a hot button topic, but as I stated in the previous video, I'm a die-hard proponent of our Constitution. I enlisted in the United States Air Force, signed that dotted line, took the oath of enlistment, which specifically states protect the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. So the Constitution includes the Second Amendment of our Bill of Rights. And I believe personally that it comes second out of the first 10 um, because it's extremely important. You think about the time the founding fathers were writing our Constitution, we had just fought a war for our independence. Um, is the issue I have, and what I don't get is it's the only constitutional right that we are granted by the by God, God's, the universe, whatever you want to call it, our creator, that specifically states in the wording written in the Constitution shall not be infringed. The only one. Yet it seems to be the only one that certain individuals in this country seem to be fine with infringing upon. Now, I wanted to be somewhat prepared for this video, so I looked up the legal definition of infringe. And according to Webster's dictionary, infringed in law means the violation, breach, or encroachment upon a right, law, regulation, or contract. So, and when it comes specifically to constitutional rights, it says the encroachment upon personal rights, such as the Second Amendment's command that the right to bear arms shall not be infringed, meaning it cannot be destroyed or violated. And therein lies the issue. I understand some of the arguments I've heard in my life are, well, there weren't automatic weapons when the Constitution was written, or, we can't assume the founding fathers believe that all weapons are legitimate for a well regulated militia and the right to the people. And why? It doesn't say in the Constitution. In fact, you know what? I'm going to read it. The exact wording. A well regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. See, it says there, in black and white. The right of the people shall not be infringed. And it says the right to bear arms. It doesn't say the right to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say the right to keep and bear some arms or arms that are black powder only. It doesn't say muskets. It doesn't say specifically blunderbusses. It doesn't give specific detail, and I believe the founding fathers knew that firearms technology would advance with society. Um, so I don't get it. I can't seem to grasp or understand the reasoning behind certain individuals who are adamant about taking away pieces of our individual rights. We live in a blessed country where we have a written constitution. We have written documentation laying out plainly what the government can and can't do. And again, the Second Amendment, high up on the list. Second, specifically, the only one reading through, the only one that specifically says shall not be infringed. Again, the founding fathers, whether you believe they were good people or not, they were smart. And they specifically put those words in, that phrase in, shall not be infringed, because they knew that at some point in time, the government, backed by people, but the government would attempt to relieve us of our constitutional rights. The first one they have to start with is the Second Amendment. Because we, as citizens, if we own firearms, we have the ability to defend ourselves against an oppressive regime, an oppressive government. And it's getting scary. Especially the federal government has been gaining more and more and more and more power, consolidating, creating bureaucracies, to the point where not that long ago, a leader of a three-letter agency that happens to be a law enforcement agency over firearms specifically said they did not care what the Supreme Court said. They did not care that they are not a legislative body. They will determine what is and isn't illegal. We have three branches of government. The executive branch is the law enforcement branch of our government. The legislative branch creates the laws. And the judicial branch, meaning the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court determines whether or not the laws that the legislative branch creates are constitutional or not. And they've come back time and time and time again, stating that any impediment or infringement is unconstitutional. Yet we have individual state leadership, and I call that leadership, yeah, individuals voted into higher offices within a state, and their right hand men and women in the legislative bodies of the state coming up with new rules to specifically target law abiding citizens who have a constitutional right to carry firearms to protect themselves from intruders, protect their family, protect their property, but most importantly, protect themselves from the governmental bodies who no longer have their best interest, the citizens' best interest at heart. These people are not our leaders. They're our elected representatives. They're supposed to represent what the body politic wants, those who elected them to office. Now, and again, I'm sure there are going to be people that tell me, well, this is what this particular group of individuals want. They are representing a body of people, a group of people who don't want firearms on the street. And I can understand that some people have an aversion to firearms. I did not grow up with them. I I grew up in a state, I grew up in a family. We weren't hunters. We fished. We went fishing a lot. We went crabbing a lot, but we weren't hunters. So I didn't grow up with firearms in my family. However, when I enlisted and learned about firearms, learned how to use them, how to operate them, uh, I understand. I came to understand that firearms are a tool, just like a wrench, a screwdriver, a knife, a spoon, a fork. It's a tool. It's a tool with a specific purpose. However, it's just that it's a tool. But it's a tool that was specifically called out by our founding fathers, the authors of the Declaration of Independence and our United States Constitution. It's the only tool mentioned in this body of work that lays out the laws of the land. And it specifically says this particular tool, our ability to own and operate this specific type of tool, shall not be infringed. So maybe I'm missing something. I hear it's well within the news, the mainstream media. You hear protesters talking about it, screaming at the top of their lungs. Well, if you believe that it's the right of every citizen to, own and operate a firearm, then you must not care about X, Y, or Z. Here's the issue. Individuals who perform criminal acts, individuals who perform horrific acts, having access to a firearm, again, the firearm is a tool. Whether they use that or they use a knife or they create an explosive device, if your goal is to harm individuals, if your goal is to cause bodily harm to people, you're going to find a way to do it. But by creating infringing laws, preventing actual law abiding citizens the availability of means to protect themselves, you're not lowering crime. You're not lowering the statistics. You're increasing them. The best defense against a criminal with a firearm is a good guy with a firearm. So, where do we go from here? I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. But as I've stated previously, the conversation has to be calm and with less emotion and more logical thought. I've had this conversation with my children, and out of my three boys, two of them are um, gun guys, for lack of a better term. Um, they enjoy their firearms, they enjoy shooting them, they enjoy hunting, um, they enjoy the freedom to go to a pistol range or a rifle range and practice. Um, they feel more comfortable having the ability to defend themselves, defend their significant others, and defend their children. Um, and over the years, so do I. I am thankful that I am afforded the right to own, operate firearms. I feel blessed that I live in this country and it's allowed. However, if certain individuals get their way, you will be impeding on my rights to protect myself and my family. I know, again, it's a hot button topic. Um, there are individuals that, no matter what you say, what logic you bring to the conversation, what evidence you bring to your argument, they won't listen because in their eyes, nobody should have them. Um, but the problem is it, I, it's not up to you. Your ability to feel comfortable should not come before my right to own a firearm. It's why the founding fathers cemented it in our Constitution. You know, you can't believe in this document. You can't believe in or take advantage of every other right we have in that document and ignore the ones you don't like. That's not how it works. It's all or none. If you enjoy the freedom to protest against our government, um, call people names in public, um, if you enjoy being able to turn on the news or watch a independent journalist on YouTube or anything else, if you just enjoy being able to speak freely, peaceably assemble, redress grievances about the government, feel secure in your personal domicile, you have to understand that you have to understand and accept that there are legitimate reasons for the American citizen, the people, to keep and bear arms. But what do I know? I don't get it. If you want to have a conversation, leave a comment. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for listening. If you can, Smash that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I love you all. Thank you very much for listening. Have a good rest of your day.